Hi friends, welcome to English Study Point. Today I am going to discuss another part of General Prologue, another nun with higher head she that was higher chaplain and priestess there. So this means that here we are introduced to another nun who is referred to as nun and who accompanies the prioress, suggesting a hierarchical or communal aspect within the religious order. And we see that this phrasing implies that the prioress has a close relationship with this nun, highlighting her position within the convent. And that was higher chaplain. So the term chaplain refers to a chaplain or an assistant. So this particular line, that was higher chaplain, showcase or indicates that the accompanying nun serves as an assistant or a personal chaplain to the prioress, and this detail provides insight into the prioress' social standing and responsibilities, and also showcase that she is of sufficient importance to warrant such as attendant and priestess there. So this phrase, three priests, priestess means three priests, so indicates the presence of more clergy within the prioress retinue, and this inclusion suggests a notable entourage that denotes her high status, and the mention of priests adds a layer of commentary on the nature of religious roles and possibly points to the blending of secular and religious duties within this group. Now here we see among there was a fair for the mastery. This means that here we are introduced to monk who is characterized by his expertise and mastery, suggesting he is distinguished in his role, perhaps with a focus on personal reputation rather than strict adherence to monastic duties. An outrider that loved venery. So this means the term outrider indicates that he enjoys hunting, and this emphasizes his worldly interests and suggests a preference for outdoor pursuits over traditional monastic life. A manly man to being an abbot able. So he is described as manly, means strength and capability, hinting at potential leadership qualities that could make him a suitable abbot. Yet this contrasts with expected monastic behavior. Full many a dainty horse had he in stable. So this suggests wealth and privilege as he owns many fine horses. It highlights material wealth as a focus, which is generally considered inappropriate for a monk. And when he rode men might his bridle hear. This means as he rides, his bridle jingles loudly, emphasizing his ostentatious presence and suggesting he enjoys the attention it brings, further distancing him from the humility expected of monks. Ginglen in a whisting wind all's clear. This means the sound of the bridle is compared to a clear whistling wind, emphasizing its prominence and how it draws attention to him, reflecting his character's vanity. An ache as loud as doth the chapel bell. So the sound is as loud as a chapel bell, symbolizing how he stands out within his community, again contrasting the quiet life expected of monastics. There as this lord was keeper of the cell. So, Lord implies authority, indicating he is in charge of a monastery, which raises questions about his commitment to monastic rules given his behavior. The rule of Saint Maur or of Saint Bennet. So, referring to the monastic rules of Saint Maur and Saint Benedict, this sets the expectations for discipline, suggesting the monk deviates from these traditions by cause that it was old and Somme del Straight. So he dismisses these old rules as outdated and somewhat restrictive, indicating a preference for modernity over tradition. This, like monk, lead old Thine pace. This means that he disregards traditional practices, portraying him as progressive but also as someone who neglects his monastic duties and held after the new world the space. So he aligns himself with newer worldly values, showcasing a shift away from spiritual focus towards secular interests. He yaff not of that text a pulled hen. So here we notice that he ignores a biblical text that criticizes hunters, showing his disregard for the moral teachings expected of him as a monk. And then we see that say that hunters bend net holy men. So this reinforces the idea that hunters are not associated holy, highlighting the hypocrisy in his lifestyle as a monk who enjoys hunting. Nay, that a monk, when he is reaches less. So, this reflects the idea that a careless monk, one who doesn't follow the rules, is similar to a fish out of water, suggesting he cannot thrive in his role. Is likened till a fish that is waterless. So, this metaphor portrays the monk as out of his element as he ignores the core values of monastic life, emphasizing his unsuitability. Then this is to see a monk out of his cloister. So here we see that this monk is somewhat who is acting against of what is expected of him. So he is not fitting in this role of being as a monk. And then we see that but Thilke text he not worth an oyster. So he dismisses the importance of this text, indicating a complete disregard for foundational religious principles. And I said his opinion was good. So this self reflection underscores the irony. Despite his flaws, the narrator, who is Chaucer, acknowledges the monk's views, suggesting a conflict between societal norms and personal beliefs. Now, here we see what should he study and make himself in wood. So, the character questions what a monk should study. He seems uninterested in traditional scholarly pursuit upon a book in cloister, always too poor. So, suggests that monks traditionally study religious texts in monasteries, but this monk avoids that, or swinken with his hands and labor. So refers to manual labor that some monks might engage in, contrasting with the monk's character, as Austin have his swing to him reserved. This means that mentions here he mentions Chaucer mentions Saint Augustine, implying that true service to God involves more than work, questions the monk's purpose in the world. And then we see that let Austin have his swing to him reserved. So this suggests that Austin's labor is for him alone, indicating disdain for the monk's way of life. Therefore, he was a precursor right. So identifies the monk as a precursor or horse rider, emphasizing his active lifestyle. Greyhounds he had, as swift as fowl in flight. So the monk possesses greyhounds valued for their speed, indicating his love for hunting, of priking and of nunting for the hare. So his main pursuits are horseback riding and hunting hares, highlighting his indulgent lifestyle. Was all his lust for no cost world he spared. So his passion for hunting is so great that he spares no expense. I say his sleeves ye purified at the hound. So describes the monk's luxurious attire, showing he enjoys finer things with grace, and that the finest of a fond of a lawn. So here we see that his sleeves are trimmed with the finest fur, indicating wealth and status. And then we see and for to feste his hood under his chin. This means discusses how he secures his hood, an element of his dress. He had of gold wire wrought a curious pin. So he wears a decorative gold pin, further emphasizing his opulence. A love knot in the greater end there was. So the pin features a decorative love knot symbolizing perhaps vanity or romantic ideals. Then we see his head was ballad that shone as any glass. So he is bald with a head with that shines indicating good health or personal care, and eke his face as he had been enjoined. So his face appears oiled and well groomed, conveying vanity. He was a lord full, fat, and in good point. This means describes him as a well fed and healthy gentleman enjoying life's pleasure. His eye steep and royal in his head. His eyes are described as keen and rolling, suggesting a spirited or lively character that stemmed as a foreign of a lead. So compares his gaze to a furnace, possibly implying intensity or warmth of character. His boots supple his horse in great estate. So he wears soft boots and his horse is in great condition, indicating wealth. Now certainly he was a fair prelate. So concludes that despite his flaws, he is indeed a notable ecclesiastical figure. He was not pale as a four-pined goose. Contrast him with pale, thinner figures, perhaps other monks, showing health. A fat swan loved he best of any roost. This indicates his preference for rich foods, implying indulgence. His palfrey was as brown as is a berry. So this means discusses his palfrey means horse as brown, possibly suggesting quality and strength. Here we are introduced to friar. A friar there was a Venton and a Mayor. So introduces the friar, describing him as Venton means lustful and merry means cheerful. A limtur, a full solemnity man. So he is a limited friar, meaning he has the authority to hear confessions. He presents himself as serious. Solemnity means serious. In all the orders, four is known that can. So out of all four religious orders, Benedictines, Franciscans, Dominicians, and Augustinians, he is unique. So much of dolence and fairly language. So he has great charm and uses pleasant language, indicating his social skills. He had made full many a marriage. So he has arranged many marriages, possibly suggesting he benefits from them financially, of young women at his own cost. So he marries young women at his own expense, hinting at his personal involvement. Unto his order he was a noble post. So he is respected and important figure within his religious order. Full well beloved and familiar was he. So he is well loved and familiar to many, indicating his popularity with Franklians overall in his country. So he is close with landowners. Franklins means landowners, suggesting he mingles with wealthy individuals and eke with worthy women of the town. So he has connections with respectable women in the town, enhancing his social status, for he had power of confession. He has the authority to hear confessions, which gives him influence over others. As said himself, more than a curate. So he claims to have more authority in confession than a parish priest, means curate. Curate means parish priest. Full sweetly heard he confession. He listens to confessions in a sweet manner, indicating his charm. And pleasant was his absolution. So his absolution means forgiveness of sins is pleasant, showing he is approachable. He was an easy man to give penance. So he makes it easy for sinners to perform penance, which might encourage more confessions. There, as he wished to have a good pittance, he gives lenient penances if he knows the person can be generous. Pittance means generous. For unto a povere order to yive. Donating to a poor church is seen as a sign of genuine repentance. Is sign that a man is well ye shrive. This means a donation is a market that someone has truly confessed their sins. For if he yaff, he does make a want. So if someone gives, the friar would boast about their repentance. He wished that a man was repentant. So he can tell when a man is truly repentant. For many a man, so hard is of his heart. So many men are unyielding in their hearts, unwilling to show weaknesses. He may not weep, although him sore smart. So some men cannot cry even when they experience deep sorrow or pain. Therefore, instead of weapons and prayers, so the character believes that instead of crying and praying, one should take action. This sets the tone for a pragmatic approach to addressing societal issues. Men moved gave silver to the poor friars. It suggests that giving money to poor friars, a type of mendicant monk, is more beneficial than mere lamentation. The focus is on tangible help rather than spiritual. His typet was a vase full of knives. So this indicates that the character's belt Typetus belt is filled with knives, a metaphorical illustration of his readiness for business, perhaps implying a connection to trade or vice, and pines for two Yevon fair wives. So the mention of pins suggests that he provides gifts to women, emphasizing his charm and social maneuvering to gain favor. And certainly he had a mere note. So he had a merry voice, indicating his pleasant demeanor and ability to entertain, showcasing his charisma and social skills. Well could he sing and plane on a road. So he was skilled at singing and playing stringed instruments, indicating his artistic talents and ability to charm others through music. Of Yenis he bar outly the press. So he was the master of tales and news, adapt at storytelling, suggesting that he was a central figure within social gatherings. His neck wit was as the flower they lease. This means comparing his neck to the flower of the lily invokes images of purity and beauty, perhaps in hinting at his attractiveness. There too he strong was as a champion. So he is described as strong, possibly emphasizing his physical presence and vigorous personality, reinforcing his role as a leader. He knew the tavernes well in every town. This shows his familiarity with taverns, indicating he is well traveled and socially connected, highlighting a worldly aspect and average hostelier and tapestry. So he knows every innkeeper and tavern keeper, reinforcing his connections and social network within his community, suggesting he is well liked. Better than a laser or a bigester. So bigester means that this shows that he considers himself superior to beggars, revealing a social hierarchy and possibly his disdain for the needy. For unto switch a worthy man as he. So the character sees himself as deserving of respect and wealth, highlighting vanity and pride in his status accorded net as by his faculty. So it was beneath him by his standards to associate with the poor, which indicates his elitism and desire for social status. To have with silk lasers acquaintance. So here we see he avoids dealing with sick beggars, reinforcing his values and perhaps a sense of moral failing in neglecting the truly needy. It is not net honest, it may not avance. So he believes associating with such people is not honorable and won't benefit him socially or economically. For to deal in with no switch porale. So he draws a clear line between himself and the poor, emphasizing a social divide and his willingness to exploit the wealthy instead. But all with rich and sellers of retail. This means he prefers to interact with wealthy individuals and merchants, indicating his focus on material gain and social climbing. And overall, there as profit should arise. So the character seeks profit in all his dealings, showcasing a mercenary attitude focused on self gain. Courteous he was and lovely of service. So despite his self-serving nature, he presents himself as courteous and humble, highlighting a duality in his persona, manipulative yet charming. Here we see there was no man nowhere so virtuous. So the speaker begins by asserting that there was no one anywhere as virtuous as Hubert, setting him up as an exceptional character. He was the best beggar in his house. So Hubert is characterized as the best beggar in his house, likely a referring to a religious house, implying he was skilled in the art of begging. This suggests a certain charm or effectiveness in his approach, and yet a certain firm for the gond. So he provided a certain document or agreement in exchange for charity. This indicates a formalized approach to charity, perhaps hinting at a blend of charity and manipulation. None of his brethren came there in his haunt. So no fellow monks would come to his place or haunt, suggesting he was somewhat solitary or exclusive in his begging. For though a wide we had not a show. This means that the mention of a widow without a shoe suggests that he had compassion for the poor as he would approach even those in dire straits. So pleasant was in his principio. So his manner of starting conversations or requests in principio means in the beginning was very pleasant, suggesting he had a charming and engaging personality. Yet would he have a forthing ere he went. So, despite his charm, he still expected to receive a small coin. This means a farthing means small coin. Before he left, indicating a transactional nature to his interactions. His purchase was better than his rent. So, this suggests that his income from begging, purchase means begging, was greater than his expected contributions or earnings. Rent means earnings, highlighting his success at begging. And rage, he could, as it were, write a will. So, Hubert could also show anger or aggression when necessary, likening it to a young dog. A whelp means young dog, implying a fierceness beneath his affable surface. In love days, there could he mutual help. So he was known to be helpful during love days, possibly referring to courtly occasions where love was celebrated, indicating a social role in these communal activities. For there he was there he was not like a cloister. Unlike a cloistered monk who might be reclusive, Hubert was social and engaging, a keen person of the world, with a threadbare cope as is a poor scholar. So here we see that he is contrasted with poor scholars wearing threadbare cloaks, suggesting that he was not visibly impoverished or pitiable, but he was like a maester or a pope. This particular line means instead he resembled a master or a pope, highlighting his authority and confidence. This comparison enhances his characterization as someone who commands respect. Of double worsted was his semi-cope. So his semi-cap or cloak was made of double worsted, a quality cloth, further emphasizing his more refined and respectable appearance compared to the typical beggar or monk that rounded as a bell out of the press. So the cloak rounded like a bell freshly made out of the press, indicating newly pressed, suggests he held an appearance of someone who was both trendy and well cared for. Somewhat he lives for his wantoness. So Hubert had a slight lisp, possibly due to rhetorical flourish or playful nature. Wantonness suggests he was rather playful or indulgent to make his English sweet upon his tongue. So this lisp added sweetness to his speech, implying he was eloquent, persuasive, and charming in conversation, and in his harping one that he had song. So harping refers to singing or playing a harp, illustrating that he was musically talented and enjoyed entertaining others through song. His eye twinkled in his head arrogant. So his eyes sparkled, suggesting joyfulness and liveliness, enhancing his overall charming demeanor. As dawn thus stirs in the frosty night. So the simile to stars on a frosty night offers a visual of brightness and beauty, portraying Hubert as not only charming but almost enchanting. This worthy Limtour was claimed Hubert. So finally, the passage concludes by naming him Hubert and designating him as a worthy limtur. Limtur means a monk who could leave the monastery on limited occasions, encapsulating his dual nature of virtuousness and cunningness. Here we introduce to merchant. A merchant was there with a forked bird. So merchant was present, characterized by forked beard, suggesting a well-groomed appearance. In motley and high on a horse he sat. So he wore a motley outfit, means multicolored, and he sat high on a horse, indicating his social status. Upon his head a Flandrish beaver hat. So he wore a Flemish. Flandrish means Flemish beaver fur hat, signifying wealth and fashion. His boots clasped fair and fattishly. So his boots were finely fastened, reflecting attention to detail and elegance in his attire. His reasons he spoke full solemnly. So he spoke his reasons, arguments very solemnly, suggesting he is serious and perhaps overly formal. Soninj always then increase of his whining. So he always discussed the increase of his earnings, showcasing his preoccupation with wealth. He vowed the sea were kept for anything. So he wished that the sea trade would be protected at all costs, indicating his interests and occupations. Betwixt Middelburg and Orwell. So he was particularly invested in trade between Middelburg and Orwell, specific locations significant for commerce. Well could he in exchange shields sell. So he was skilled exchanging currencies, particularly selling shields, probably meaning money or goods, demonstrating his business acumen. This worthy man full well his wit bysaid. So this worthy man skillfully applied his intelligence and insight in business dealings. There was no white than that he was in debt. This means no one knew that he was in debt, suggesting he maintained a facade of wealth and success. No stately was he of his governance. So he was very dignified in his behavior and management of affairs, reflecting his confidence with his bargains and with his sons. So he managed his contracts, means bargains, and dealings. Dealings means sons, effectively emphasizing his shrewdness in business. For South, he was a worthy man with ale. Truly, he was a worthy man, overall indicating respect for his ability and successes. But sooth to seen, I note how men him call. However, honestly, the speaker does not know what people call him, highlighting a sense of ambiguity or mystery about his identity. Now here we see that a clerk there was of Oxenford also. So this introduces the clerk, a scholar from Oxford. The mention of clerk suggests someone who is educated and learned, indicating his scholarly pursuit that unto logic had long ago. So the clerk has studied logic for a long time, suggesting that he is dedicated to the study of philosophy and academic disciplines, reflecting the values of intellectualism. As lean was his horse as is a rake. So his horse is described as lean, indicating a lack of resources. This symbolizes the clerk's poverty and dedication to learning over material wealth. And he nas not right fat, I undertake. So the clerk himself is not fat, further emphasizing his lack of wealth and perhaps suggesting an intense focus on his studies rather than personal well-being. But looked hollow and there too soberly. His appearance is hollow and serious. Soberly means serious, implies sober or grave, illustrating his seriousness about his studies and perhaps a lack of social engagement. Full threadbare was his overaced coat to be. So his overcoat is threadbare, showcasing that he is poorly dressed. This symbolizes his financial struggles and prioritization of education over material possession, for he had gotten him yet no benefice. So the clerk has not yet obtained a benefice, a church office that provides income, highlighting his continuous pursuit of knowledge rather than a stable or lucrative career. Nay, was so worldly for to have office. He is not worldly or concerned with attaining a position of power or wealth, reinforcing his commitment to academic pursuits over social ambitions. For him was never have at his bed's heat. He would prefer to have at his bedside. This suggests a personal preference for books over luxuries, indicating his values and priorities. 20 books clad in black or red. His preferred books are likely covered in black or red, commonly used colors for scholarly texts of the time, suggesting a serious and scholarly nature of Aristotle and his philosophy. So he studies the works of Aristotle, a major philosopher. This highlights his deep engagement with esteemed philosophical texts, reinforcing the idea of intellectualism. Then robes rich or fithale or gay sorcery. So he prefers books over rich garments, musical instruments, or entertainment, emphasizing the contrast between his values and those of more worldly individuals. Then we see, but albeit that he was a philosopher. So, despite being a philosopher, this introduces a contradiction. He has knowledge and wisdom but lacks material wealth. Yet had he but little gold in coffre. So he possesses little gold in his chest, indicating his poverty and perhaps a critique of the social values of the time that prioritize wealth over knowledge. But all that he might of his friends hint whatever he might obtain from friends. This reveals that he relies on the goodwill of friends for support, lending to the portrayal of his humble lifestyle. On books and on lunch he it spent. So he spends everything on books and learning, highlighting his dedication to education and intellectual growth, and busily gain for the Swiss pray. So he diligently prays for the souls. This indicates his concern for spirituality and perhaps his intention to repay his friends' support through prayers of him that gave him were with to school. For those who provided him the means to study, this shows gratitude and acknowledges the communal aspect of education. Here we notice of study took him most care and most heed. So the clerk took the most care and attention to his studies, emphasizing his dedication to learning. This emphasizes or establishes him as a serious scholar who prioritizes education. Not a word spark he more than was need. He did not speak a single word more than necessary, highlighting his concise manner of communication. This suggests a thoughtful and deliberate approach to conservation, and that was seen in form and reference. His words were said with formality and respect, indicating his understanding of decorum and manners. This reflects his education and the importance he places on property, and short and quick and full of high sentence. His speech was short, quick, and full of high moral meaning. This particular line suggests that he values brevity and substance in his dialogue, as well as an emphasis on ethical principles. So, in moral virtue was his speech. So his speech resonated with moral virtue, indicating that he speaks thoughtfully about ethical matters, aligning with the character of philosopher concerned with virtue and morality. And gladly would he learn and gladly teach. So he was eager to learn and equally eager to teach, which illustrates his passion for education and knowledge sharing. This reflects a cycle of learning and instruction that is pivotal to his character. Then with this video lecture ends here. Hope this video lecture will help you in your exams. Thank you.